All right, Fuego, so what should we talk about next?
Hail Satan?
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Jaime and Fuego here!
Here to continue our coverage from the 2019 Phoenix Film Festival and International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival. This is another documentary. The other one we got to see was all about cult film. This one is what some people might call a cult.
Oh, the Dark Lord himself.
This is about the Satanic Temple. The movie is called Hail Satan?
Question mark?
So it's literally about the formation of the temple back in 2013 and all the way up until when they stopped filming, which I'm guessing was in 2017 area.
Yeah.
Because they did go over, their growth in 3 years, going from 3 people to over 50,000 people.
The
across
expansion
the globe.
was insane.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And I will say, we'll do this review like we do our normal ones. My overall thoughts, I really enjoyed this documentary. It was really entertaining. I think I enjoyed it more than the cult film documentary.
I did too.
Because again, that one felt a little unfocused. It was just a reminiscence. This was telling the story of a particular thing, and I just think those documentaries tend to sit a little bit better with me. And this was a quite accomplished version of it, to be honest with you. What were your thoughts?
Credit to director Penny Lane. She had done Nuts and I guess Our Nixon or My Nixon or something like that. Anyway, she has a pedigree with this sort of coverage, and yes, Penny Lane made great music on screen. She did a hell of a job covering this topic, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. No pun intended.
So let's get into the story of it. Again, it's just about the formation of the Satanic Temple, and it goes through, you actually get to see all of the founding people, or at least the ones that agreed to be on camera.
Yeah.
One of which was not willing to do without, the vocal thing and the dark shadows on his
horns
face. Yeah, the actual, the man behind, the wizard as it were, behind, not the Grand Wizard, the wizard from The Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Because the face of the Satanic Temple is a man by the name of Lucian Greaves. Or Lucian Greaves, I don't know what
one of his various aliases.
Yeah, exactly. And so it largely follows him, although it starts with an actor that they got to
was
try
hilarious, by the way.
do a sort of press conference on the capital of, I can't remember which state it was at this point, but yeah, so they ditched the actor pretty quickly after that and stuck with Lucian, and it just showed how it grew into numerous states at first, and then it grew all across the globe, and it's really interesting. But it's funny because it also told the story of how this organization that was meant to go against centralized organizations had to become a centralized organization in order to function correctly.
It's almost like the SLC Punk thing, where at the end he's like, I find out that I can do more damage within the system than functioning outside of it. And we actually had an interesting narrative at one point where there's a disagreement about how that should be implemented, and it made for one of the more fascinating plot points, because there's supposed to be an extreme way of thinking, but yet not. And that is one thing about TST that I will say. I feel like there is an aspect of contradiction to calling themselves a religion and then not being a religion, and they use these. I mean, I was raised Reformed Baptist, but I'm an agnostic. I'm not an atheist, and I'm definitely not a Satanist. But the fact that they use these trolly tropes and stuff, and they even admitted at one particular point, that they are the original trolls.
Yeah,
and
a guy that was a bit of a historian, a researcher, said they're the original trolls. They started to troll the people that respect all of the normal tenets that we just put our stock into. That
we're using Satan as our symbol, but yet we don't believe in him.
They believe in 7 particular tenets that aren't terribly far off from the 10 Commandments.
No, not really.
But they still make total sense, which is why a lot of the people stick with the religion. And there were a lot of people involved, and maybe this is a good segue into the people as opposed to the acting.
Yeah.
But the people involved, a lot of them came from religious backgrounds. One guy was a very devout Baptist Christian, he said, and he swung to atheist, and then he swung to Satanism, and
because it's more fun.
but the message is still good, at least from the official, the Satanic Temple. There are offshoots and other things with different names that perhaps might be more extreme, but they're trying to keep it just an expression of freedom and stuff like that.
And that's one thing that I will definitely give them major credit, is that very well-spoken, very well-educated people, the predominance of them, and
that's what
very
cannabis
rational
culture needs.
Yeah,
is an
They're all
actual
too
person
blazed.
that can speak, eloquently, that's centralized and represents all of us. Because when people get out there and go, yeah, man, legalize it, no one takes it seriously.
Of
and
course,
it's
the whole
same
Cheech and
thing
Chongism
with the
of it.
Satanic Temple, right? You can't have the wrong people representing it.
true. And there is one, back to that conflict of interest. You could tell from the get-go that this lady from Detroit, who gets a lot of focus in various points of the documentary, she was more extreme than the rest of the people. She had a very punk rock, metal, theatrical.
Reminded me of Fairuza Balk in The Craft.
She was a babe, though. Still, but like there is a point that she was one of the most fascinating characters to me, aside from Dorian.
Okay.
So.
Lucian.
Might
as well have been Dorian.
Yeah. But yeah, we have there's an Arizona chapter.
Really I'm actually tempted to go visit them for an episode of the show.
Tempted.
And it is funny, like the way
I would love to interview some of them.
I really just liked some of the points they made. That was just kind of put a grin on my face. Like,
Trolling.
they were just sticking it to him like yeah, Satan's not a bad guy. Like Jesus was sent to the desert for all these.
That was
he's starving and he's thirsty, and the devil's just like, hey man, here's some food and water,
Yeah, and he's going to Abraham, and he's like, why are you going to kill your son?
I was like, those are pretty cogent points to make.
Very much so, straight from the scripture too.
And then a lot of the documentary also focused on the battle of the Satanic Temple trying to get their Baphomet statue up in a place where the Ten Commandments statue was up.
But as a counterbalance, they didn't want just the emphasis on the Satanism. They only wanted it just so that Christianity wouldn't be the only thing that was expressed and kind of presented. And I thought it was fascinating when they focused on just the ascension of the post World War II culture of implementing all of those very overtly God stuff.
And, all that stuff.
I was unaware of that, honestly.
I didn't even think about the fact that we are. A lot of our stuff is built on, Christianity and stuff like that. However, they did make the point that the original Constitution does not.
Yeah.
So it was really, that's the kind of stuff that was interesting to me. They did a really good job presenting this. And even regarding the statue, they were like, is your intent to put a statue up all over? And he's like, no, our intent is to not have either up.
Yeah.
Because there needs to be no religion favored by any state or government association. And I was like,
and that is what the country was founded on, was that
really
sort of freedom of religion, freedom of expression, that's what this nation was built upon. And obviously culture changed drastically, during the 50s and so on and so forth. So and that was a fascinating thing that this presented. And if we're going to segue into effects and stuff, there isn't really anything like that.
I'm going to stop you just a second.
Did I knock it again?
We haven't had this before. I don't know if your hair is going to do a rustle or not. So let's just get your hair on this side, to behind your neck. Yeah.
Okay.
Just so we don't, because
Okay. As in the rustle. This thing?
Exactly.
I feel you.
Okay.
I mean? Well, I don't want that.
So go ahead.
All right. But yeah, there's not really any effects per se, but it is a very colorfully well-assembled documentary with cuts to other movies and visuals and fun little bits like that. It was very slickly edited. I thought
the editing is what we need to talk about, really, because there were the timing of the editing was great
and added a lot of the humor.
Exactly. It was a lot of focusing on a particular person for their.
We're getting a little bit of everything.
God damn it! Undo it just to get. That's great.
I love that shirt, by the way. It's so awesome.
So yeah, the editor was a real storyteller on this one, and made for obviously the subject matter was very interesting as well, but the editor did make it sing a little bit better.
Very much so. I totally agree, man. Yeah.
So
it honestly makes me want to seek out her other two documentary features just to see how the process improved by the time she got to this. So
So you guys, if you get a chance to watch Hail Satan at some point this year, which likely you will because it was an accomplished documentary, I could see it getting a release on Shudder or something like that.
It'll end up on a streaming service of some sort. I'm sure of that.
For sure. Yeah. So check it out when you can. Thanks again to Monty from the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival and Patrick from Ally. worldwide, as well as Jason from the Phoenix Film Festival. Because without you guys, we wouldn't be here covering it. So thank you very much. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime Fuego.
And remember,
Hail Satan.
that too.